Today is January 31st, the last day of January.
Woo!
And welcome into
January!
the Next Average Podcast. The Shelby Nick Average Podcast, or we like to call it Aw Snap. The man with the Subway bag on his head is Shelby.
It's actually me too. So if
the
you guys
man
want
getting-
to dox me,
The man
live
getting
at Subways.
bonked by a hammer is Nick.
I love that picture too.
And
It's just so goofy.
I think the best part is it took all of 30 seconds to take that picture.
Really?
It took-
I could tell.
it
I
took
thought there was
all of
some
30
setup
seconds.
and- Hell yeah, dude.
Nope,
Oh,
it sat up, took the picture, applied the filter. Absolute
Lay
gem.
back down.
Lay back down, absolute gem acquired.
There you go. There you fucking go.
Of course, for any returners, this podcast is mainly a sports podcast, but we like to talk about anything and everything that comes up, like the profile pictures that catches anybody's eyes.
It should catch all eyes.
It should.
Every single eyes.
I mean, the Subway bag is artistic. Cutting the holes
Iconic.
out for the eyes, being able to get the face to, show through.
Takes guts.
It does, and it
Takes guts.
takes a lot of time, too, to make sure that you get the right proportions.
Yeah, dude. Probably 31 seconds. 30 seconds is for pussies. So
All right, well,
we are officially 2-3 minutes in and already hurted my feelings.
Yep, all right. Whatever happened to bringer-uppers has already gone out the window. Love to see that.
No, that's sports.
Oh.
I bring up sports.
Okay, good to know. So when it comes to just general life, all bets are off the table then.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, obviously, for the people that paid attention to the last podcast, especially towards the end about the NFL, I'm not good at betting, so
And well,
so obviously, I'm not the one to listen to that.
that's
so.
the thing. We can start this podcast with our results
Let's
from the
just
conference
not.
championship
Actually,
games.
Let's just talk about
So I have here a piece of paper that has our results from betting on the lines that we were given for the conference championship games. Now, going into the conference championship games, the lines may have differed, but on the days that I did the research and I got lines according to FanDuel, we had both of us had Ravens plus 3.5 and 49ers plus 7. Now, the Ravens lost. We'll get into that later. The 49ers won in dramatic fashion, and we'll also get into that later. However, where me and Shelby differed were the points that were going to be scored. Shelby thought that the AFC Championship game would be over 44.5 points. I took the under. Now, that game started off great for Shelby. I think it was 10-7 in the first quarter, maybe.
I want to say there was some time left in the first quarter too.
It was 17-7 at half. And things were looking good.
Yeah.
Things were looking real good. And then just the door shut. I mean, everything was getting absolutely hammered. The only second half points came from a Justin Tucker field goal.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I chose the under. And I'm very happy with that.
I chose the under. You've been showing on a podcast.
That's a lot of big talk coming from a man who's a bringer-upper.
I'm gonna turn that hammer into real life, motherfucker. You better look like Sid the Sloth in real life.
Well, if you can hit the sides of my head, so in that way maybe it'll be like
Even out.
even out, or maybe the top of my head will pop back into place.
There you go. I got you. I mean, the worst thing that happens is it stays the same. So
Exactly.
no, you might as well.
So obviously the Chiefs covered or the Chiefs covered -3.5. And the under schmacked score of 17-10 in the AFC Conference Championship. What were your thoughts on the game?
So my thoughts is that the Ravens needs to kind of figure things out. They really need a second receiver. I mean, Zay Flowers was matched up on Snead the whole game, and it just really proves that although Snead is a rookie, he really plays, above his years.
Is
Kind of
Snead a
like
rookie?
what Sauce did his first year. I want to say he's a rookie. Is he what is it, like Ladarius or something? Are you fact checking that?
L'Jarius Sneed.
As you're doing that,
I
So-
am fact checking this.
Okay, yeah. As you're doing that, I think it was a great game. I mean, I know to people nowadays, they don't want the low scoring like that, but I love just good defense. Because it wasn't bad offense; it was just good defense. And that's
L'Jarius
what's
Sneed is
awesome.
not a rookie, by the way. He's in his 4th season.
Okay.
But yeah, but
Podcasting.
as you
That's my
said,
beat.
he has really flourished this year. I get why you think he was a rookie because people haven't really been talking about him. Granted, people haven't really been talking about the Chiefs' defense, which that entire defense has really flourished this year, and him being a
Isn't it
massive
the
part
first
of
or
it.
second youngest defense?
I don't necessarily know where they rank at according to other NFL teams, but I know if you look at a lot of the key positions, they have young players. Trent McDuffie's
Right,
pretty
right.
young. L'Jarius Sneed's only in his 4th season. George Karlaftis is only in his 2nd season. Nick Bolton is quite young. So I mean, they have young pieces in a good part of their defense.
Mm-hmm. For sure. What was your thoughts on the game?
I'm kind of with you in the fact that it wasn't bad offense. It was just really good defense. It didn't look like the Ravens could get into a rhythm. That's the word that I would use. It just seemed like everything that they were trying to do was uncomfortable. Lamar would not scramble for some reason. Like, I get that
I think
he's
got
wanting
too much in his head.
I get that he's wanting to be a pocket passer, but I mean, if they're giving you the scramble, that would be the easy thing to do.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's what really happened is in the fact that Harbaugh has has had Lamar for years now and kind of like that stuff like that, and now all of a sudden, the lanes opened up and Lamar isn't taking them. I mean, years prior, and I was the one saying it, like he needs to be the one staying in the pocket more, staying posed and all that. But, you can be both. You can be a Patrick Mahomes who runs at, crucial times and stuff like that. But I feel like he was just so cautious about it because in his head it's probably like, okay, like I got here for a reason. We're here for a reason. I'm going to stick to that reason. Where in the playoffs, you really need to be multidimensional, and I think the Chiefs just kind of showed that with Isaiah Pacheco, and then their defense really stepping up, and Mahomes. I mean, Kelsey hasn't really done all that much this whole year. And then in this playoff run, he just looked like vintage Kelsey.
Exactly. I mean, 10 receptions. I think it was 9 receptions in the first half and 10 receptions within like 30 seconds of the second half. And so when
and
you have
crazy receptions, that's the thing too. Like they're great catches.
I mean, he had a play on 4th down where I think he one-hand snagged the catch with the defender draped all over him. There was the one play where Mahomes got hit and Kelsey had to dive for the ball and he made that catch. The touchdown reception with Kyle Hamilton all over where he had to go back shoulder.
Yeah.
absolutely
Like
beautiful.
back hip. Yeah, it was
It
really
was
good.
perfect pass, perfect reception. I mean, the entire play, looking at it from an offensive standpoint, was essentially perfect. I mean, it was beautiful to watch.
Yep. And I think that just shows that, Mahomes and Kelsey ain't nothing to play with.
They are indeed nothing to play with. And I mean, that's why they're going to the Super Bowl.
Correct. Correct.
So,
Now, this is going to sound like a real Russell Westbrook question right here. Do you think the Ravens lost the game or the Chiefs won? And the fact that, Zay Flowers had that big play, got called back 15 yards, and of course both teams have made mistakes throughout the game. That's just football. But do you think the taunting and kind of just like the mental lapse that the Ravens seem to have, do you think that costed them the game, or do you think even if they were, you know, more on pace like what they were during the regular season, do you think the Chiefs would have just been able to turn it up to a whole nother level and still come out as victors?
so there's definitely points for both of those, whether or not the Chiefs won or the Ravens won or lost. Personally, I'm leaning more towards the Chiefs won that game. I think the Chiefs did
Okay.
win that game because they were able to force the turnovers in the end zone. I mean, Zay Flowers didn't just fumble the ball because a gust of wind came through. Like L'Jarius Sneed came through, knocked the ball out.
Mhm.
The Chiefs defense was able to get that interception late in the fourth quarter in the end zone. And then, I mean, just looking on offense, they made the plays when they needed to. A lot of people can look at the second half and say, oh, well, the Chiefs didn't score. They didn't have to. Their defense played phenomenally. I am confused why the number one rushing defense never ran the ball. I mean, they did run the ball, but it was only like maybe 4 or 5 designed run plays. I mean, Gus Edwards
Mhm.
only got 3 carries. One of them was for 15 yards in the first quarter, and then he only got 2 more rush attempts for the rest of the game. That is absolutely absurd. But at the end of the day,
Yeah, and
I do truly believe that the Chiefs won the game more than the Ravens lost.
right. And it's pretty funny that you mentioned that the lack of running, because I was even noticing that during the time too. I was like, it feels like they're trying to win it right now. I mean, I felt like they had a lot of deep plays that just didn't work out and stuff. It's like, why don't we, like, you're only down a touchdown. There's a lot of game left. Let's, kind of ease into it. Let's get a drive going. Let's get their defense tired. Then you can break the big plays. And, I mean, through Harbaugh's coaching career there, I mean, you've had the likes of, Ray Rice. You had the likes of Gus Edwards, who did really good this year. I have him on fantasy team, so he's the real one. Um, you know, who was the big trust? Who was it?
Mark Ingram?
Yes, Mark Ingram, who, I mean, was top runner. If I don't think he was top, but he was top 10 rushing in the league. I mean, it's funny that all of a sudden, because Lamar Jackson is almost in MVP talks, that now it's all heliocentric on Lamar Jackson.
I do also agree with the fact you said earlier that like the Ravens need another wide receiver. Now, Zay Flowers played an absolutely phenomenal game, but they went out and got Odell Beckham Jr. for this very moment and did not use him.
Yeah. I mean, especially with Odell being a little older and, well, all the injuries he's had the last few years, I feel like he's someone that needs to get worked into the lineup or worked into the game. Like he can't just come out and have like big breakout games. So I feel like that again, that goes back to the whole like longer drives thing. But I feel like if they would have kind of, through some warm ups to him, essentially, I think he would have gone big.
But so at the end of the day, Ravens did not protect home field advantage. Chiefs went into MIT Bank Stadium. 3 seed upsets the 1 seed, and and the 3-seeded Kansas City Chiefs go into the Super Bowl yet again. Jumping over to the NFC side, excuse me. The Detroit Lions took a trip down to Santa Clara. Looking at some of the betting lines here, the 49ers were favored by 7 points going into this game. Both of us took the 49ers plus 7. Both of us missed. However, the line was set at 51.5 points. And once again, that man in the Subway bag bet the under. Shelby went 0 for 4 this week on picks.
0 for Wilson. Yeah, 0 for Wilson.
I at least went 2 for 2. Now, would that hit in a parlay? No. But I'll take it.
That's fine. I'll get the Super Bowl once we're gonna meet up and watch in person, and yeah, we'll definitely. I'll come out on that one.
I beat Shelby in this week's picks, and that's all I can really ask for because I took the over in this game as well. This game, as a 49ers fan, this game had literally every emotion you can think of pass through my body. From being down 17 points at half to coming back. I was in a Buffalo Wild Wings watching this game, and I was definitely getting looks from everybody around me from the reactions that I was having. Because come fourth quarter, I was not holding anything back. I mean, at the first quarter, I'm very worried about the game. The Lions break off the long run, and automatically I'm thinking, oh, God. Here it comes.
Not like this.
Dan Campbell is just going to shove it to us.
Huge testicles, yeah.
And then we got down by and then the 49ers got down by 17 points, and I was thinking, dear God, I don't know what to do at this point. Do I go home and just cry? Or do I stick it out and then cry later? Well, I'm very happy that I decided to stick it out because I was very happy during that second half. Brock Purdy made plays that were absolutely electric. Brandon Ayuk.
Game manager.
Game manager. He managed the heck out of that game, as Fred Warner says.
I was just going to say, I'm pretty sure that's what Fred Warner said.
But that game ended up 34-31. And there were a couple times during fourth down I felt like I was going to throw up because, when you get a stop or when your team gets a stop on third down, you feel relieved. Big stop on third down. That's cool. They're going to punt. Maybe they try a field goal and then the offense comes back on the field and just everything drops. I now understand what it's like to have a team going against Dan Campbell, and I felt like I was going to throw up multiple fourth downs. I mean, the fact that the 49ers didn't even have a punt coverage team was perfect. The 49ers were out there playing Madden because the punter would go on for the Lions and the 49ers would keep their 4-2, 4-3 defense on the field and just sub out their safety for a punt returner.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly,
just in case,
that was the way to go.
Off his foot, you're fucking backtracking, okay?
So yes, that was going against Dan Campbell. Now, all season long, I've been praising Dan Campbell for going for it on fourth down. Going against Dan Campbell, who goes for it on fourth down.
Just pop the fucking ball.
Made me sick. I'm sorry. I had never wanted to see a special teams unit on the field so much. Like, yes, a third down stop. For the love of God, let's see a punter.
Why is Goff still there?
No! Get David Montgomery off the field! Please! As a 49ers fan, I ran through my rundown. What were your thoughts on the game?
I think it really shows that, especially in the playoff game, you don't leave points left on the board. I'm sure everyone's heard about, criticized about Dan Campbell going for it on fourth down. I think that's one of the reasons why he got there in the first place, got that far, because with the team, like you said, I mean, you don't know what he's going to do. I mean, even if they come out, punch squad come out, you're like, fishy, And I think it's that uncertainty that really put teams through a loop. But, I mean, fact of the matter is, they had 2 field goal opportunities where they were in field goal range. They didn't take them. They lost by 3. I don't necessarily think that's a huge coincidence. But that's my thought. I was actually at a birthday party the first half. And my girlfriend told me, like, hey, the Lions are up. And I was like, no way. Oh my God. Like, what is going on? What is going on in St. Clair? And I was feeling it for Nick. He was at B-Dub, so I didn't want to text him, but I was like, nah, that's rough. I've been there. But, it just really shows that experience really counts for something in the league. I mean, the Lions have been doubted pretty much since the creation of the Lions. But they've just been doubted and kind of spat on and all that. And I think once it comes down to paying the piper, I mean, you're going against a team that, Fred Warner, George Kittle, Bosa, both been in Super Bowls. And so I feel like that kind of had a huge outcome on it. I think they were posed enough to be like, hey, we got it. It's a whole nother half. Let's go. There's not much teams out there that would have that kind of mindset, especially when you do score and then the Lions go and score again. It's like, they just always seem like they're, two scores ahead of you. The next thing you know, you're scored ahead of them. So that's my input. I think it was a very fantastic game. I think they need to kind of rethink their season. Kind of Dan Campbell needs to kind of find that mixture of having huge testicles that need to be carried in wheelbarrows or, like an NFL coach.
All right. So with our thoughts on the NFC Championship games coming to a close, I thought we should play a fun little game.
Okay.
Now this game, we're gonna call it Who Has More Playoff Wins.
Hold on. Can I guess what the game rules are? You're
Go
gonna
ahead.
Suggest 2 things to either people or players, and I have to pick which one has more.
Close, yes.
Fuck. God damn it.
I'm gonna throw out 2 quarterbacks. Mainly it'll be
quarterbacks.
Mainly it'll be 1 quarterback versus a list of people.
Okay.
Now, I want you to end. There will be a couple answers that, they're not all going to be the same answer. So, who has more playoff wins? Brock Purdy or Patrick Mahomes?
More playoff wins?
More playoff wins.
Mahomes?
Yes, you're right. Mahomes has 14 playoff wins. That's pretty impressive.
That's crazy. He has almost a whole season of wins.
Now, here is where it'll get a little fun. Who has more playoff wins, Brock Purdy or Jared Goff?
Or Jared Goff. So I know Jared Goff went to the Super Bowl. And so, but they were really good. So I bet they were the 1 seed. So they probably got the bye. So what's that? Three. And then this one, and oh, he was also in the wild card, right? Yeah, yeah, because they came through the wild card. So, and who was the other one?
Brock Purdy.
Or Brock Purdy?
All of these quarterbacks that I'm going to say are going up against Brock Purdy.
Okay, okay. I'm gonna go Goff, but I'm gonna say it's pretty relatively close. I think Goff has it because most of the time Niners has been 1 seed, so they probably had buys.
Jared Goff has been to the playoffs 4 times in his career,
Nice.
and he has 5 playoff wins.
Let's go.
There it is. He does have more playoff wins than Brock Purdy. Who has
All
more
right.
playoff wins? Brock Purdy or Lamar Jackson?
Oh, Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy does indeed have more.
I want to say Lamar has what, 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Josh Allen.
Okay, so Josh Allen, he's been to the. Oh no, he hasn't done very good. I was gonna say he's been to the divisionals, but he only went once. Or conference championship. He's only been once. So I'm gonna say Allen 3, and Purdy has the 4.
Josh Allen has 5 playoff victories.
Fuck.
Josh Allen does have more playoff wins, but he also has a lot more seasons in the playoffs.
You don't have to defend Purdy, dude. God, but give him time. Give him time.
Dak Prescott.
Purdy. Prescott's like what, 1?
Dak Prescott is 2-5 in his career in the playoffs.
2 of 5.
Jalen Hurts.
Now is this when he's starting?
Yes.
Okay, when he's starting, then I'm gonna say Brock
Yep.
because I know they were really good, and he was a 1 seed last year.
You are correct.
Fuck, I'm bodying this shit.
We'll go with somebody who a lot of people say, "Oh, Brock Purdy, he's just the same as Kirk Cousins." Who has more
Ooh.
playoff wins?
I'm gonna say Purdy. I can't remember a single Viking victory that he was starting
The
the quarterback.
Vikings beat the Saints in the wild card round a couple years ago,
Ooh.
and Kirk
Let's
Cousins
go.
was at the helm. Kirk Cousins only has 1 playoff victory.
Okay.
Brock Purdy or Ryan Tannehill?
Ooh. So I want to say it was yeah. I'm gonna say it was divisional when the Chiefs came back. Yeah, because they were underdogs they were outscored every single game that year, and I think that's the year they faced the Bills. And so that means he has like 2 because they're never like all that good. So I'm gonna say 2. I'm gonna say Purdy.
You are correct. Ryan Tannehill only has 2 playoff wins. Let's go with a couple of quarterbacks who, a lot of people have higher up than Brock Purdy on a lot of their rankings.
Okay.
Justin Herbert.
Oh, Purdy. I don't think he's been close.
Justin Herbert does not have a single playoff win.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence.
He has like maybe 1 victory, also Purdy.
You are correct. Trevor Lawrence is 1-1 in his playoff career. Joe Burrow.
So obviously, championship, AFC, Chiefs never had so they were the 1 seed. So that means he had to play pretty much every single game all the way up. But I don't think he had any other Super Bowl or any playoff success other than that one run. So I'm going to say Purdy.
Joe Burrow has one more playoff victory than Brock Purdy.
One more. Okay.
And last but not least, to end this game off, who has more playoff victories as the starting quarterback for their team? Brock Purdy or Jimmy Garoppolo?
Oh, I'm going to say it's tied. Hold on. Let me think about this. Yeah, I'm going to say it's tied.
Oh, I did throw a curveball at you there, and you swung and hit it because they are tied.
Let's go.
Brock Purdy, 4 playoff wins. Jimmy Garoppolo, 4 playoff wins.
Go.
However, with that being said, with Brock Purdy winning, he will be tied for the 3rd most playoff wins by an active quarterback.
3rd, really?
He will be tied with Jared Goff, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow at 5 wins apiece. And the only 2 active quarterbacks who would have more are Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson.
No Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, I forgot about Aaron Rodgers. Oh.
Okay, I was like, there's no way, because he has a championship and he played Niners all the time in the fucking conference. Oh, get caught up. Let's
You
go.
did.
Speak about
You
them
busted.
fucking lines again.
You
Talk about
busted
them lines.
me. Talk about the
Okay.
the betting lines, that you went 0-4 on.
I didn't go 0-4 in that game, though. You went 0-4 on remembering Aaron Rodgers.
That
I'm
is
0-5.
true. Yeah, okay.
Well,
so then he would be tied for the 4th most playoff victories because Aaron Rodgers has 12 playoff victories. Aaron Rodgers
has what, 14?
has 12.
How much does it Pat Mahomes have?
14.
God, that's crazy. Okay. Well, it's funny you're going to say that because I also have kind of a game.
Ooh.
And it is on the NFL side as well. So we are going to play a game I actually saw on TikTok. I don't remember the creator, so I don't want to steal, but I want you to pick 3 teams and state why they're in these things. But so one's going to be exceeded your expectations, one's going to be met your expectations, and then failed your expectations.
So exceeded expectations are going to be the Green Bay Packers.
Big time, yeah.
Green Bay Packers, one of the youngest teams in the league. Jordan Love first season. Aaron Jones was the only veteran. That really, it felt like he was the only veteran. David Bakhtiari, their all-star lineman, was out. They had young players at the receiving core, the tight ends, young players on defense. Jair Alexander was injured for most of the season. Aaron Jones was injured for a lot of the season, and they come out and still get a playoff win. First and foremost, the fact that they made it to the playoffs is great for Packers fans, but the fact that they got a playoff win with such a young team,
and they almost got 2. I mean, that was a really good game.
Exactly, almost 2. So I mean, exceeded expectations has to go to the Green Bay Packers.
Okay, I like that.
Failed expectations is a little bit tricky. But I think I'm going to go... I mean, it's very easy to say the Los Angeles Chargers. But that's just because they fail expectations.
Every year?
Every year, every analyst
Honestly,
is like, well, a dark horse...
Because I knew they're going to mess up.
Every year, it seems like we hear, a dark horse for the Super Bowl is the Chargers. Oh, a dark horse for the Super Bowl is the Chargers.
Every time.
Chargers sucked.
Yeah.
There's no other way. The Chargers sucked, so it's easy to put them at failed expectation.
Correct.
But I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
I understand that Joe Burrow was hurt for a lot of the season and got hurt before the season. But even when Joe Burrow was playing at the beginning of the season and had that like 3 or 4 week stretch where he was healthy, it just seemed like the Bengals never got going. Like it seems like they were always trying to find their groove or trying to find their identity. And so the fact that they even got a winning record is mind-boggling to me. Because when I saw Bengals games, every single one of them looked clunky.
I think that comes down to good coaching by Zach Taylor. I mean, he was faced with a game time decision with Herbert going down, or Herbert with Burrow going down and all that, and then Jamar Chase playing like a dud. And I think he was hurt too. I mean, he was faced with extreme bad hands, and he still came out and kind of reminded them like, "Hey, we have a winning culture now. We're the Bengals. Let's kind of do this."
Met expectations. For met expectations, I'm going to go your team.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Seattle
Yeah.
Seahawks.
It's about as mediocre as you can get.
I mean, the Seattle Seahawks were coming into the season, at least my expectations, I should say, because it seemed like beginning of the season, and me and you had this conversation too. Beginning of the season, it seemed like a lot of analysts were trying to get views and doing the whole like, I think the Seattle Seahawks will be champions in the NFC West, even though they didn't do anything to their roster.
No, all they did is spend a lot of goddamn money on a quarterback that failed on other teams and did good this one. It's like, he's going to probably be turning it up.
So I'm choosing the Seattle Seahawks because this is exactly where they were at last season. I mean, I think maybe one win short of last season. But that team was really a 500 team, about what I expected them to be, and they were a 500 team.
Yeah. So, funny enough, my Met is also the Seahawks for the exact same reason you did. So I don't think it should spend time expanding on that. Exceeded, I'm going to say the Texans. I mean, they were told they picked the wrong group. You know, the coach is too young. They're too young. Nico Collins went down,
Tank Dell.
or not Nico Collins, yeah. You know, and they just went out and really kind of stuck it to other teams. I mean, their defense was really nasty, and they just kept it on the gas pedal, it seemed like the whole time. Failed, I'm going to say the counterpart. I'm going to say Carolina. Carolina, they, spent all that draft capital to get the number one pick, and whether they got the right guy or wrong guy, I'm not going to be the one that says they did or not, because next year Bryce Young could have had like a wake-up year and then be, phenomenal, and everyone's going to look at how good of a pick that was. I say it's the fact you signed Adam Thielen, and he didn't really use them at all through the whole season. And then you have, you tried putting a lot of veterans, which is good to have along young people, but that team just never had really anything going. I mean, there was no bright spot to the Carolina Panthers season really at all.
Yeah, I would agree with you on both of those. The Texans definitely exceeded. Carolina Panthers, it's the exact same reasons too. It's not the fact that they may or may not have gotten the pick or the right pick at their draft spot. That'll be questions for further down the road. I agree with you in the fact it's that they tried to do everything they can to get him weapons, and they didn't use the weapons, or they failed at using the weapons. I mean, getting Miles Sanders as the starting running back and then not even realizing that he doesn't do anything and then benching him halfway through the season is exactly how the Panthers' entire season went.
Yep. Yeah, and it felt like because They could have took two ways. They could have had a bad year and developed their young talent, really work with things, kind of find what they're good at, find what they're bad at. Or they can do what they did and just hodgepodge a bunch of people together and just expect to win. And it's just it doesn't make sense to me that they choose the former rather than the later because I mean, there's so much good teams in the league right now. This is the time to figure things out.
So we talked a little bit about it during the AFC Championship thoughts. But what did you think about the taunting penalty coming out?
So, I think it needs to be adjusted. I think when you have grown men, they're full of emotions. They play a really physical game and all that, especially Zay Flowers, which I'm sure we referenced before. That was a big time play, against Snead, who've been, they've both been talking ish the whole game and such like that. And, I think looking over the player now, I don't think he went above and beyond. If he stood over him, like literally, AI over him, okay, that makes sense. But I think what really did it was the ball throw, and I think that's a good call. But if you look at Kelce, I mean, he gets the same emotional after every play, and he never gets flagged for it.
It could be the other thing that Kelce doesn't do it directed at a person. Zay Flowers was staring at the corner on the ground. When Travis Kelce does it, I mean, yes, the player might be right there, but he doesn't stare at the player when he points for the first down or screams or whatnot.
That is true, and it's not the screaming that really does it. Like some people just that's their way of getting the team engaged. That's their way of getting themselves engaged. But it's the fact that every time he gets up, he talks ish or he runs into the player and headbutts them and stuff like that. Where it's like, he's I really don't like this word, but he's being a bully compared to everyone else. But the second the smaller man, does it, now it's a problem. Where like, no, I don't, obviously I don't read the lips, what the refs were saying and all that, but it just felt like nothing was said to Zay Flowers and Snead, even though that has been going on the whole game. But Kelce, every time ref had to go over there, break him up, but there's nothing like, hey, do it one more time, you're done. Like, I'm tired of it.
Yeah, I can kind of understand, especially when it draws a flag on the Ravens. There was a play where Travis Kelce went over and I think headbutted Roquan Smith and started talking in his face, and then Kyle Van Noy came over and did the exact same thing to Kelce, and Van Noy got the flag. But that also goes into the nationwide second man always gets caught as well.
Yeah.
And so when you're in a big game like that, of course emotions are going to fly high, but at the same time you have to know that the better team is going to be the one who can keep their emotions dialed in enough. Now you're not going to dial in your emotions, but if you can keep them tame enough to where it's not a detriment to your team, then that's going to be the team that wins. And obviously we saw that.
Yeah, and I think that comes with experience. I mean, obviously with Mahomes having 14 playoff wins in his, 5-year career or a 5-year starter, obviously that it shows that they're there for a reason. And I think they know how to tiptoe to the line and kind of kind of bait the other team into being more physical than what they could be.
Now, me personally, I think that the taunting rule, I want to go a complete opposite route of it. Now, when I say I don't want the taunting rule to exist, I want it to be like a complete 180. Because I love smack talking.
Mm-hmm.
Smack talking, being a part of professional games and college games and whatnot, should be encouraged. I mean, having your head like getting a tough callus on yourself, getting that thick skin should be, a part of growing up through the game. And I say, take it a step further. I mean, let's get some WWE promos going
Hell
on.
yeah. Yeah,
Well, I'm
dude.
talking before the game, we give Travis Kelce a mic to just sound off on the other team, and then the other team just sends in
Kelsey.
whoever you want. I mean, it's got to be a one-on-one, only mics at center field.
Only mics is like a rap battle, but they're just super disrespectful with no rhythm or rhyme.
And I mean, that would get the crowd fired up. That would get the teams fired up. Could you imagine going out and playing a game after you get called a punk bitch over the microphone in center field?
Hey, yo, Chris Jones! You suck, pussy!
Like, that would be so electric. The team's coming out, but it's got to be like right before the game, because if this happens during warm-ups and stuff, like
Coin
it
toss.
ain't. Oh, at the coin toss, exactly. Heads or tails? Do you want to diss first or diss last?
Yeah, that no longer is it like a coin. It's like whoever has the best comeback.
Forget about who gets the ball. Whoever gets the ball is whoever got roasted the most.
Damn, bro. Yeah, that sucks, dude.
Like,
Go ahead.
ooh, you lost
thing.
that one, but you get the ball, and you're gonna have to show them what's up.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. But I mean, I don't know. Like on a real note, like what do you, where you lie?
It's tough to see every single time. It really is. I think they need to have a warning system before they throw a flag, but I think taunting as it is, I like if you implement a warning system, then I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, Zay Flowers, they obviously they've been talking the whole game. Don't be like, you're good, you're good, you're good. What the hell, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a grown man sport. So,
Exactly. And you got to get calluses somehow. Grown men going out there competing. I think a little
Yeah.
smack talking here and there isn't the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
All I'm
The only
saying,
thing.
you send out a representative at half field and you just go at it before kickoff.
Okay. So for Nick Bosa, or Nick Bosa, for the Niners, who would you send out?
So for the Niners, I would probably send out Deebo Samuel or Trent Williams.
Oh, I forgot about Trent. I feel like Trent would take it to heart and actually fight him in the middle of the field.
That's why I would send him out.
Yeah, but if, like, let's say there's a penalty on that, are you going to risk that? I say you get Kittle. Kittle has fun with it. I feel like he has some good comebacks and whatnot. But what's really important is the fact that win or lose, he's going to be fired up. And the last thing you want is a Kittle that can't get brought down. I mean, there's clips of him dragging 3-4 people with him because he's just amped. And
Well,
that's how you lose games.
Kittle is not a bad idea. I just think that Kittle would have a little bit too much fun with it. I would like to send out somebody who's gonna get fired up. That's why I like a Deebo Samuel, because Deebo Samuel gets smack talked, gets shit talked. It seems like the most throughout this playoffs. It seems like no matter where I turn, there's another video being leaked of somebody shit talking Deebo Samuel.
That's true. Yeah, Debo just stays catching strays for no reason.
Exactly. And so if you send him out there to be able to come up with comebacks, I think that would get the team fired up.
I just imagine like Brock Purdy's like bird lips going out there. He's like, I don't like the way you said that.
Could you imagine Nick
Just that,
Bosa
just-
like, well, I like
That's
sacking your
kinda
quarterback. Yeah, I wouldn't use that type of language here.
Yeah. Damn.
I like sacking the quarterback.
Yeah. But truly, I think the reason why they're trying to stay away from it is because it's almost like what with NBA, with the NBA people really like, poking fun and just having like a good time with dancing and all that. I think they're trying to influence the children to playing the game the right way. And then kind of learn the smack on the way and not just, have a bunch of eighth graders and shit talking smack and, being kind of reckless because that's what they see on every Sunday.
That's fair. I didn't think about the fact that they are trying to be impressionable on a younger audience.
Yeah, I really think that's it because I know when I see kids playing basketball and all that, I mean, they're shooting crazy deep threes and, dancing around, doing the night celebration that Curry does. And it's just like, you guys aren't even passing the ball. I mean, you're just going up the court. Whoever has a rebound is going to shoot. So I think they're more so going that route with it.
So then moving on to the NBA and having kids like you're talking talking about like being impressionable on kids and everything.
Yep.
There was another 70-point game. I mean, Luka Doncic went out there and scored 73 points on the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah. You know what's crazy about that? He was still passing. So was it Cat when he had 62, I want to say? When he had 62, it was, they were feeding him the ball. I mean,
yes,
big time. They were trying to get him the points. But Luka was like, there the play where he was driving and he kicked out to the open three where he could have, either A, got fouled or B, take the shot. And there's times where for free throws he passes up the ball. Yes, that could have been to the fact that he's not a very good free throw shooter, but to me that's more impressive than what Cat did and all that. Because like with him and Joel, they're just unstoppable. And I feel like Cat was when you're on 2K and you're trying to grind your badges and you're just taking whack ass threes just because. Because Cat could have had probably a good 10 more points than what he actually had because he was shooting, jumpers and threes rather than, kind of playing the game the right way. So
with all of the scoring outbursts, I mean, the first thing anybody's going to look at is defense. I mean, how do defenses allow somebody to go out there and put 73 points on them?
Well, because when you're Luka motherfucking Doncic.
That is true.
You kind of...
Luka can do whatever the fuck Luka wants.
I would say because he cooked PG and Kawhi in the playoff series.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen Luka too many times.
2 ways.
Yeah, I've seen Luka too many times have the slowest step back three be at the purest jump shot I've ever seen.
Bro, that's the thing. It's so weird because he doesn't. It's almost like he doesn't play with urgency. Like he's just going. Like he's just playing.
He's
ball,
just there.
But it's
yeah,
like,
he's having fun. There was a quote by Luka Doncic, one of his first years in the league, and he said, "Scoring here is easier than scoring in Europe." Essentially, I mean that's essentially what he said. And a lot of people mocked him and made fun of him, but he and I understand he was 14 at the time of playing in Europe. But I mean, if anybody goes out there and puts 73 points up in the NBA, I'll believe anything he says at that point.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like because obviously there's different rules. You have centers can be in the paint the whole time and all that, but Luka, like he shoots mid range and all that, so I feel like that wouldn't really bother him all that much if the big is down there. If anything, it'll probably help him out because now, you have a big guy on the other side of the post rather than right now it's kind of 5 out kind of thing. But yeah. I don't think it's so much defense though, like because there's a lot of rules on defense. JJ Redick had his podcast and he was talking about all the rules that was changed, and I don't remember all of them, but he listed 7-6 rules.
We are avid enjoyers of the JJ Redick podcast.
JJ, come on the show, and then let us come on your show.
And so I did hear that segment and the 6 or 7 rules. I mean, even in recent changes where like the offensive player couldn't or can't throw his leg out to try to get the foul, or the offensive player can't slow down and throw his body in the defender. The NBA is
Yeah.
trying to do a good job of pampering the game a little bit towards the defensive players. I just think it isn't even the defensive rules at that point, though. It's the defensive effort.
Yeah, I think it's effort, but I don't know, dude. I think offenses are just. I mean, when you have to pick up someone 35 feet, I mean that's tough to do. That's really tiring, and pick and rolls are being implemented now and have higher efficiency than ever.
Especially
Just picking
someone like,
pops with. Go on.
to say, especially somebody like Luka Doncic, even though he looks like my grandmother could beat him in a race, he's still going to drive by you with
That's
no
true.
sweat. With no sweat
Yeah.
going on.
Well, yeah, because he has that thin ass headband on, thing like a rubber band. But I mean, for real, I mean, you have these incredible players that can score at all three levels very efficiently, and know how to play the X's and O's. I feel like with Jordan, and this isn't trying to compare them or try to say which one's better. This is just for comparison's sake. But I feel like with that era, it was very like your bread and butters. You have your pick and rolls, you have your ISOs. But now, I mean, for Christ's sakes, there's Isaiah Joe, who's an incredible 3-point shooter on the Thunder, and now he's being implemented the right way. Where back in the day, there was like Kyle Korver, who would have down days and kind of like that, and then now he's a defensive reliability, or yeah, defensive reliability. Where now, it's like, damn, like yes, he can give up some points, but if we run some better schemes on defense and whatnot, we can hide that bit better, but he still uses 3-point shooting.
Yeah, I mean, just the better schemes, the better coaches, the players adapting, being able to. I get what you're talking about. I get what you're. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
You smell what I'm stepping in?
So, a
That
couple
shit.
teams have been on some tears lately.
Okay.
Specifically, the Knicks winning 7 straight, and the Cleveland Cavaliers have been on a tear as well. They recently knocked down the Los Angeles Clippers, but the Cleveland Cavaliers have been doing it without Darius Garland.
Okay.
So, I mean, that begs the question, trade? I mean, look at trade
Question mark?
offers, maybe get them off. I mean, it's just something like you could look at it and you can say, well, if they're this good, just wait till their starting point guard gets back and they'll be even better. But if they're doing this good without him, it's not very hard to look at that and should you trade him? What would you get for him? Who would you get for him?
I think that's the big thing because Darius Garland is such a good player. I mean, he's probably one of the best, like, true point guards, I'd say, because he can play make like a play make with the best of them, but he can also score pretty well. I feel like the big question mark on that team has always been the backcourt height. So with Donovan Mitchell, yeah, he has this, like a 6'8" wingspan or whatever. He's still like 6'3", 6'2". That's just, I mean, as a shooting guard, you can't have that because he's going to be playing against the likes of Devin Booker. He's going to be playing against the likes of, these taller guards like that. Not to mention just threes if, someone else is in. So I feel like they should explore a trade, but not be too hasty with it.
Because the other thing with the size, too, is you don't even necessarily need. I mean, the Cavs could keep doing what they're doing and have Donovan Mitchell run the point and then just go out and try to get, like you said, a taller wing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kind of
I
fills
feel
in that 3-and-D type role.
Yeah, big time. Dude, I feel like the absolute best point guard to be put on that team would be Alonzo Ball. Like that type, like a taller guard, defensive guard. You can hide a lot of the defense, you can get the toughest guard/forward
I mean,
assignment for the night.
That's if Lonzo Ball comes back, though, as well. Lonzo Ball has been.
No, he's damaged goods. I mean, I love Lonzo. I loved him. I didn't like him as Laker just because of his dad. His dad was mad annoying.
Yes.
But when he was a Pelican, I feel like he really came into his own, and that really showed that, like, he came into the league. He was trying to be a good guy, humble, and all that, but it's just his dad was just overshadowing all that. And I think the Pelicans kind of showed him that, like, or showed us rather, that he is a person. He's a good guy. He's a good dad. You know, he's gonna put hours in the weight room, hours in the shoot around, hours in training and whatnot. And I feel like he would just be the perfect match. But I think with his knee problems, I mean, rumor has it that he could barely go up some stairs. I think it's just done. I think it's going to be a Brandon Roy where if he does come back, it's not even be close to what it was, and he's just going to end up retiring.
I mean, speaking of Chicago Bull damaged goods, it seems like everybody on that team is damaged goods. I mean, if you look at Nikola Vucevic, if you look at DeMar DeRozan, especially Zach LaVine, I mean, all of these players are supposed to be great with each other, great separately, and they just, the past couple years, it just seems like all they've done is hurt their reputation because they cannot get it done. I mean, we went through
Yeah,
the standings last week, and they're like the 10 seed. They're not even playing for a play-in spot.
yeah. That's tough, dude. That's really tough. Because, like you said, I like
And
all of them like almost separately.
it kind of almost feels like a Brooklyn Nets scenario with a Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, where like it's a big three that on paper should work, but when you get down to it, it doesn't work. And I think honestly, at this point, the Bulls need to end up just restarting. I mean,
A thousand percent.
the starting point guard can't go up a flight of stairs, as you said. The shooting guard, the small forward, they're good pieces, but if you just keep them on the Bulls, they're gonna do nothing but hurt their own reputation. And so, the
Mhm.
sooner you can move them to like other teams, the better.
Yeah, and I feel like the difference between them and the Nets that you just said is the fact that the Nets showed success. They had three people who's got it done before. I mean, you have Zach LaVine, who's I think been to in his whole career been to one playoffs, and that's with the Bulls just to get smacked by the Bucks. And so I feel like, I mean, you gotta let people go. Vooch just doesn't work out. You have Kobe White, who's really coming onto his own, but you're kind of stunting his growth because it's like, well, the team's not going to do anything because they're too up their own ass about making a trade. They don't want to admit defeat that the three pieces they have assembled just didn't work. DeMar DeRozan, he plays an old style of basketball that just doesn't really translate unless he's the focal point, and he's not Raptors DeMar. You can't have a focal point that takes up the ball that much and doesn't get that. His playmaking's less than admirable and just stuff like that. Where if you get, Zach LaVine, even on the Pistons or something, I mean, you just get someone young to work with Kobe White. You get someone that's even like, a little bit down the rotation because obviously they're not going to be getting a all-star like they would if they would have traded Zach LaVine 2-3 years ago.
Like I said, if they would have traded him a couple years ago, they could have gotten an all-star type player from them. But
Mm-hmm.
with the way that they've been playing and just they haven't been working very well with each other, you just can't. I don't think you can straight up go 1-for-1 an all-star player for Zach LaVine or an all-star player for DeMar DeRozan anymore.
Yep, big time.
I mean, you might be able to get like a sixth man and a bench player or a fringe starter and a bench player for him, but you're not going to be able to get that same value that you had to pay to get him.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention Zach's contract is is a lot of
Massive.
money. So
Earlier this week, on Sunday, actually, the Detroit Pistons, the worst team, the last seed, the 16 seed,
I don't
upset the 1 seeded Thunder. 16 seed beats a 1 seed. Now, it was at Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
but wow. I mean, a bright spot to look at for the Pistons. Jalen Duren, 20 and 20, 22 points, 21 rebounds. What a performance. It's funny to me that the Pistons are able to stay in games and, even win a couple maybe the second Cade leaves. And so it's almost kind of the same question. Do you look at trading him? Because, he is a number 1 overall pick. You could get a lot for him.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that the Pistons beat the Thunder is mind-boggling. It almost seems like the wrong Detroit team won. That the scripts were reversed that day.
If only.
That the Pistons should have had the large lead and then just crumbled it away, and the Lions should have stuck it out.
Ah, dude, I would have liked the Lions in there. Like I'm glad,
one Detroit team wins for the one Detroit team loses.
Yeah, with
good basketball. This game was not good basketball from the Thunder.
No, and I think it just really shows their age. I think they really overlooked the Pistons. I feel like the Pistons are going to be one of those teams, almost like the Wizards, like where if you're a bottom feeder, like the Hornets, truthfully, but if you're a bottom feeder like that, it feels like everyone's going to kind of look over you in some capacity. We played football in high school and whatnot, but all the time, coaches like, oh, don't slouch. They can win a game and all that, and it's 1,000% true. As cheesy as it sounds, it's just one game.
But with that one game, there's a new number 1 in the power rankings. Now, there probably won't be at the end of the week, however, with their loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers, but the Clippers, number 1 in power rankings. Love to see it. Only 3 losses in the month of January. Now, obviously, they do play tonight, so could be 4, but still, that is absolutely tremendous. The fact that Paul George is playing well, Kawhi Leonard is actually playing, not just playing well. The fact that he's playing well is great, but the fact that he is actually playing is
it's a surprise.
It's mind-boggling. And then the fact that James Harden, you have all those big names, Russell Westbrook, and then the role players. Norman Powell coming off the bench is very good. The Clippers are doing all of this with their starting center out as well.
Yeah, I think that just really shows how good not only the Clippers was, but how good the who is it? Hold on, Adams is. Because when he implemented that you have to play over a certain amount of games for you to get on the All NBA or All Star and all that, I didn't think it was going to completely turn around.
I didn't think so either.
I think that rule itself put the Clippers on this trajectory because you have PG, who's notorious for getting hurt. You have Kawhi Leonard, who's notorious for just sitting out, resting and shit. And then you have Harden, who does a bit of both. I know all 3 of those players are just dogs. They're playing through it, and I wonder if that's because of that incentive.
Well, I also think that rule was targeted at the Clippers, and as a Clippers fan, I am 100% okay with that.
Right. So, do you think because Adam Silver, I don't think he done perfect things in the league, obviously, but with him recently adding the play-in game, which everyone's like, okay, but you see the likes of the Lakers who went through the play-in game and yeah, they got swept in the Western Conference or Western Finals, but you see that. Then you see the next year they do the ineligibility rule. Do you think NFL would ever kind of get to that point where they make more stuff, more rules up and guidelines for the league that helps it.
I think the NFL is more worried about expanding than trying to better the sport, because Roger Goodell, every time you ask him a question, it seems like he's trying to defer to the fact that, the NFL is going out to all of these different countries. We have the London games, the Germany games, the Mexico games. Adam Silver has done a phenomenal job of bringing viewers into the NBA and just making games and seasons better with more rules. I mean, the play-in season or the play-in tournament to get to the playoffs was a little weird at first, but I think people are accepting that.
Oh, I loved it, dude. From the jump, I mean, it was exciting.
Yeah, this new rule where players have to play a certain amount of games is great. Obviously, it's getting people like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, who I still think the rule was targeted at to actually play, which is great. But the in-season tournament, we had our doubts. Me and you sat down and we had our doubts. But the way that it played out was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask for any better basketball from the Clippers, from the Pacers and the Lakers. I mean, they really turned it up. And, the Lakers, the Western Conference is so tight right now. And, like they went from, being like, just last week, people were kind of counting them out to now they're, 5 seed, just show how close the West is. But I mean, their best basketball played was during that season, during the in-season tournament.
So the new rules with the so many amount of games before you miss the All-Pro selection and the Pacers. Now, obviously, one of the young stars on the Pacers, must-see TV, actual must-see TV.
I told you. So, the little people at home, Nick is much more into football, and I'm much more into basketball. I think we said that the first episode, but
yes,
I told him because he's like, the Clippers suck, and this was during that time, and I said, hey,
when we lost 7 straight with James Harden.
Yeah, I was like, I get if you don't want to be a Clippers fan. I get it. Constant heartache and all that.
I love being a Clippers fan now, by the way.
Oh, I bet. I bet. I bet. I was the same way when Thunder was winning 20 games a season, too. But, I told him, if you want to really have a fun team to watch, the Pacers, bro. One, I love their city uniforms. The black with the yellow and bright blue doesn't go with the colorway. Only thing that matches is the yellow. And it's not even the same yellow. But fuck, is that color vibrant on the court. I love it. And then you have Halliburton. He's like what I strive for when I go to the YMCA.
So that's the thing.
Shooter.
That's the thing. Halliburton, great player, right? Actual must-see TV. However, with this new rule, he is 3 missed games from being able to not be selected to an All-NBA team.
He's cooked.
He has only played 33 games with 35 left.
Yeah, he's done. I mean, I love him as a player and all that, but it's just to not miss 3 games out of 35. I mean, that's just a tough ask. He's one ankle twist from missing 2 games.
It is absolutely heartbroken. Like we've come out here and recently, like we're saying that this is a great rule that's implemented, but then when you look at the negative effects of it, like Tyrese Halliburton's not going to be on an All-NBA team.
Joel might not win MVP because he missed too much.
It does make you ask if it's a good thing or not, but I will say, and everybody says, the best ability is availability.
The only thing, I believe it was, I want to say it was Kevin Durant. Maybe, I don't know. It was something like that. But he was saying now you're going to get a bunch of random ass people win awards because, Joel Embiid's out. Luckily there's Jokic who The only thing he missed a game for is like a horse race in Russia. But there's him who's like a goddamn Iron Man. Misses like 2 games a year, so he's always like, well, if Joel doesn't make it, he'll probably get it and all that. But I feel like when it comes down to the nitty gritty of the All Pros, like the third teams and all that, I think you're going to see a lot of not random people, because of course they're still good enough to get there, but some people that like in the future is going to be like, well, you know, this player is better than this player because he has two less all teams. Well, that's because he was hurt, not because he was bad.
Well,
So I
I
feel like it's
also
going to affect a
think
lot of legacies.
I don't feel that way because in seasons where people rarely play, it's very easy to count them out. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a very prolific quarterback, and earlier in this show, I forgot he even existed just because he didn't play this season. Now, going with the NBA, it's that if you don't play, like you can be absolutely phenomenal for half a season, but if you don't play the other half of the season,
No one remembers.
then exactly. And so I think it's fine with, and a bunch of these random players, it's like you said, they're not random players. So you get the fourth or fifth best point guard on the third All Pro NBA team because the third best point guard and the fourth best point guard were injured. Well, that's still like Damian Lillard. That's still Steph Curry.
That is true. That is
You
true.
still
But
have
now,
actual named like people who are known throughout the NBA. The only actual position that I think that may mess up is center, and that's because getting top three centers are difficult as it is, and with Joel Embiid being out, it's going to make it even more difficult.
right? I mean, and that's kind of why I like the fact that they went to like positionless for the voting. But the thing is I think we're kind of saying the wrong thing. It's not that Tyrese goes from first team to second team because he deserves that first team. In my opinion, he has been one of the best guards, top two guards of the whole season. I mean, he is going out there. He's having prolific, assist to turnover rates. I mean, for what he had like 30 turnovers, I think, before, or 30 assists before he had a single turnover. Like that is crazy. He's hitting big time shots. He's the highest. I think the Pacers have the highest, uh, or the best offense in history, which always seems like it keeps going back and forth because Luka about 2 years ago had it with the Mavericks, but he has the best offense and he is solely the engine of offense. I mean, he puts up 28 points or so, and he puts up damn near feels like the same amount of assists. I mean, he's just a dog out there, but he doesn't go from first team to second team. He misses it completely. So now that
Which
season is discredited.
I'm fine with that because it's what's the
You're
season if he
fine
only
with
plays
that?
half the season?
That's true. That's true. But it's not half the games. It's like 65 or something. So you're telling me if I miss 64, I shouldn't be counted for anything like that?
Well, you still get the stats and everything from the season. You just don't get an
You get it.
accolade.
Well, that's true, but the accolade can be the one thing that puts you above player A. Everyone talks about how Jordan, I'm not going to get into the whole GOAT debate, but everyone talks about how Jordan has more championships than LeBron. And I know that's championships and not whatever, but same thing with, the point leader or whatever, rebound champions, stuff like that.
Well, that just
Where,
becomes a argument of stats help the argument are not the argument. Because I mean, if
lucky you
one
right.
if one season, if one singular APL Pro team is going to push you over the next person, then I don't think that it's too close to decide who's better than who, and that comes down to eye test anyway.
Fair. Now, Do you think that could be a conversation? The fact that they like MVP, I 100% agree with you. It's tough to be the most viable player if you're not there. So I understand the awards. But in terms of the all teams like that, do you think instead of being like Halliburton, for instance, being first team, he gets bumped down to second team?
I think
Or do you think that'd be too much
instead of,
power?
I think the AP All Pro team needs to be different than the Players of the Year award. Because, like, yes, MVP and like Defensive Player of the Year and Offensive Player of the Year and stuff like that need to be at 65. But I think for like AP All Pro, it can go down to like 55 games, 60 games, something like that. Because if you say
Okay.
60 games, you're still able to miss 22 games, whether that be for an injury, just sitting out,
That's
whatever.
that's true, but it's not like NFL where, there's one game a week. I mean, there could be, especially for the in-season tournament, the teams are playing like 4 times that week. If someone was hurt the whole week, that's four games rather than to the NFL one, where,
Exactly.
if you
So
get
being injured over a month, I mean, you'd have to be injured over a month to miss out on AP All Pro. And that's a season that. How long's the regular season? Only like 4 months, 5 months.
what is it, October to April.
So I mean, you're missing a whole month of basketball. Now I understand it might be a week here, a week there, but I still think if you say that they have to play 55 or 60 games for AP All Pro, or they miss it completely, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Okay.
Because how can you be the best point guard or one of the top 3 point guards if you're not there?
Yeah. I mean, I do get that. I do get that, and I kind of leaning into that from the beginning, playing more at devil's advocate. But
Oh my god!
well, no,
You and your
no,
stupid ass fucking
hold
devil's
on.
advocate got me heated over here. God, of course,
No.
of
So
course.
I will say I was playing that at first, but then I feel like I was like kind of almost convincing myself,
Convincing yourself.
where I think there should be, like you're saying, I agree with you, where there's like an AP and then like the actual award. That maybe AP is like a lower standard, but then I think that kind of discredits the people before you, because now there's like, yeah, he was a 10-time All-Star or a 10-time, you know, All NBA player, but three of those counted as APs. Or do you go APs and then like the older people that would have made it, they got snubbed, like Bradley Beal that one year about four-ish years ago. Now he's like, well, hell, I could have had that. Like that could have been me. It's like if they would have taken the 48 minutes a game now and then expanded to 60 overnight.
Well, I mean,
Like,
NFL seasons went from 16 games to 17 games, and it's going to skew the all-time records, but it's just something that you have to live with. It's something that you have
yeah,
to sit back and say, well, that's one of the benefits of playing in today's game than games in the past.
yeah, and I guess that comes down to more like the argument's sake. I think
Yeah,
us as bringer-uppers, we need to influence other people to really bask in the moment. Like Mahomes could shatter his damn femur tomorrow and potentially never play a game again.
exactly. So as this show wraps up,
Wrap up.
there's one more topic we have. Now it is
Okay.
pretty agreed upon between me and you that the Celtics are going to win the East.
Okay.
But who
I think
do
the
you,
Wizards are going to come back.
who do you think
Wizards
is
are going to put
going
their.
who do you think is going to be standing at the top of the Western Conference when it is all said and done?
Now, just for clarification, when all said and done means through the playoffs, they're representing the West for the championship, correct?
No. Who stands at top is
No.
whoever is the 1 seed at the end of the regular season.
So see, that changes my answer completely. Because truly,
Because right now, as it
man.
sits, January 31st, Timberwolves, Nuggets, Thunder, and Clippers are all 2 games within each other. So
Yep.
that's top 4 teams 2 games within each other, and we've only played about 45 to 47 games.
I think the Nuggets took a step back during the regular season. I think they're going to be probably the one with coming out of the West for the championship.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be the the Timberwolves. I think the Timberwolves defense is for real. There's Rudy Gobert, who's never really hurt. I mean, he's pretty Iron Man, and the way he plays isn't very based on his athletic ability. You have Anthony Edwards, who's really coming into his own. You know, you have a lot of these like role players that can go off for double digits. And I feel like the coach is like not so much culture, but just the energy in the building is for that. And so I think it's going to be the Grizzlies.
Timberwolves.
Timberwolves. I always mix them teams up. I don't know why. So I think it's going to be them, followed by the Clippers.
Well, not only am I saying this because I'm a fan of them, but I also truly think that the Clippers will find a way to be at the top because of the players that they have on their team, the experience that they have on their team. Ty Lue, the coach, is great. As you said, I think the Nuggets took a step back in the regular season, but they're going to be one of, if not the best teams in the playoffs. I think the Thunder are too young.
Yep.
And so I am the same with you where I think it comes down between the Timberwolves and the Clippers, and I just, in a 50-50 shot, I'm going to choose the team that I root for.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. The Timberwolves, I mean, I don't know. They're just playing the right way, it feels like. Where the Clippers, you know, they have good depth, especially with, their bench players really coming along. And Russell Westbrook I haven't heard him in talks for sixth man at all. And I think that's criminal.
It's because the sixth man is Norman Powell.
Yeah, that's dumb. Well, that does make sense because there was, so you're telling me Lou Williams and Harrell got the exact same number of minutes? Because they were both in talks and someone had to.
I don't know what's going on in the front offices. All I know is that they're considering Norman Powell over Russell Westbrook as the sixth man.
That's not the smartest to me, but like you said, that's front office.
But that's as I say, but that's why we're not in the NBA.
I guess so. But I feel like I don't know, maybe this is because I'm just judging them looking through the lens of the past rather than the now and future, but George and Kawhi, I mean, they something has to happen. Like, there's no way they stay healthy this whole time like that. I think something's going to happen. I hope they do. As a good football enjoyer, I'm also a good basketball enjoyer. And they play good basketball.
I am very much a good basketball enjoyer as well.
But yeah, I don't know. Something's telling me. Something's telling me. And
as we wrap up episode 2 of All Snap, we'd like to say that obviously all of the opinions on this show are our own.
Absolutely facts.
They do not represent...
And if you don't agree with us, you can meet me in the McDonald's bathroom and we can fight it out.
They don't represent anybody else but ourselves. We thank everybody for tuning in, watching, for however long you decided to watch for. Make sure that you hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. subscribe to Awesnap. Leave a comment.
Subscribe.
What comment did you like the best? Which
Share to your mother.
which comment was, or which take did you find absolutely idiotic? Tell us down below in the comments.
Turn off the QR code to the YouTube.
Thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you all next week.
Snap.
Bye-bye.